They say the scariest storms begin with calm skies. Looking back now, I realize I was living in the eye of it, peaceful, warm, and utterly unaware of the winds swirling just beyond my vision. I used to believe ours was the kind of love that time couldn't touch. And maybe that's what makes betrayal so devastating, when it comes not from a stranger, but from the one you swore your life to. I met Olivia during my last year at Ohio State. She was tucked into the corner of a coffee shop just off campus, reading The Old Man and the Sea with the kind of expression that told me she wasn't just reading it, she was feeling it. I was there to grab a caffeine fix before a study group, but something about her made me stop and ask, "Does he make it back alive?" She looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "Not in the way you think." That was Olivia, enigmatic, warm, clever. We talked until her coffee went cold, and mine did too. That was the beginning of a slow-burning connection that would last 20 years. After graduation, we stuck together like pages in a wet book. Life wasn't always easy, there were student loans, 2 apartments in 2 different cities, and the stress of finding work in a slow economy. But through it all, we had each other. And that felt unbreakable. We got married under a sycamore tree in her parents' backyard. It wasn't extravagant, but it was ours. The vows we exchanged weren't just poetic, they were lived. We made a promise to grow, not just together, but toward each other. And we kept that promise. At least, I thought we did. In those early years, I worked 60-hour weeks climbing the ladder in a financial firm. Olivia built a career in nonprofit work, women's outreach and education, always with a heart for helping others. We were building something real, a life, a home, a legacy. We didn't have kids, by choice. We wanted to see the world first. And we did: Paris, Kyoto, Tulum, Iceland. She made every trip an adventure, every quiet night something sacred. Evenings were our time. We'd cook together, her hands always smelled like rosemary and citrus, and then curl up on the couch, tangled up in each other and some half-watched documentary. I never got tired of hearing her laugh during the credits. I still hear that laugh sometimes when I dream. There was a rhythm to our love. Not fireworks every day, but a steady burn. She made a home feel like a sanctuary. Her voice could calm any storm in my mind. She knew how I liked my coffee, when I needed quiet, and when I just needed her hand in mine. We talked about growing old together, traveling in an airstream across the country, writing a book about the people we'd meet. I never imagined a future that didn't include her. And maybe that was the problem. Sometimes we love with blinders on. We fall so deep into the comfort of us that we stop checking the walls for cracks. And when those cracks start to spread, slow, silent, unseen, we mistake them for settling. But not all settling is harmless. If you'd asked me then, I would have told you Olivia was my forever. No hesitation. No second thoughts. I believed in us. In what we'd built. In who she was. Or at least, who I thought she was. But the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just shatter your trust. It makes you question your own memory. Your instincts. Your past. That's the part they don't warn you about. What do you do when the love of your life turns out to be someone you never really knew? I didn't have the answer. Not then. But I would. And when I did, the storm that followed, was mine to command. It didn't happen overnight. That's the thing about distance in a marriage, it creeps in quietly. A skipped dinner. A turn back in bed. A conversation that starts but doesn't finish. And then one day, you wake up and realize you're lying next to someone who feels like a memory of the person you married. It started when Olivia joined a gym. I encouraged her, actually. We were both pushing into our 40s, metabolism slowing, joints starting to ache after long flights. She wanted to feel stronger, she said. More connected to my body, were her exact words. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was proud of her. She even bought new workout clothes, tight leggings, racerback tops, colorful sneakers she probably hadn't worn since college. But then came the group classes. And the new friends. I'd come home from work and the house would echo, no music, no Olivia humming from the kitchen, just quiet. She'd be gone for hours. Spin ran long, she'd say. Or, we grabbed smoothies afterward. We. Just the girls, she'd smile. You'd hate it. She wasn't wrong. I didn't care for crowds or juice bars. But that wasn't the point. The point was, she stopped inviting me. We used to do everything together. Now it was like there was a whole new part of her life I wasn't allowed into. One Saturday morning, I made pancakes. Her favorite, blueberry, with lemon zest in the batter. She used to light up at the smell alone. That day, she walked into the kitchen, glanced at the stack on the table, and said, "Oh. I already had a protein bar." Just like that. Like my effort had become background noise. Later that week, I caught a glimpse of her phone while it buzzed across the table. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize, Marcy, Pilates. I asked, casually, "Who's Marcy?" She replied without looking up. "A friend from class." That was it. No warmth. No curiosity about my day. No asking if I wanted to join them sometime. Just, a flat wall. And I didn't press. I didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious husband who makes something out of nothing. But the truth? I felt like an intruder in my own home. She started going out more. Happy hours, book clubs, girls' nights. I'd see her walk out the door in clothes she hadn't worn in years, tight jeans, lipstick she'd long forgotten in favor of bare-faced comfort. She looked beautiful, yes. But not for me. I stopped waiting up after a while. What's the point in watching the clock when you've already been left behind? She began locking her phone. That one hit me hard. We had never been secretive, not once. I knew her passwords, she knew mine. We shared everything. At least, we used to. Now her screen would dim the second I entered a room. She'd tilted away from me like a teenager hiding texts from her parents. When I joked about it, she laughed too loudly and said, "It's just a habit. Work stuff. Work stuff." Except she wasn't working anymore. Not really. One night, I watched her through the bedroom mirror. She stood in front of the closet, picking through blouses like she was dressing for someone new. She caught me watching and gave a tight smile. "Just feeling a little bloated," she said, smoothing her stomach with her palm. "Where you headed tonight?" "Marcy's." I nodded. "I'll wait up." "You don't have to." Something about the way she said that. Almost like she was hoping I wouldn't. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of bourbon and listened to the crickets. The sky was clear. The neighborhood was quiet. And my gut told me something was shifting. Not a dramatic earthquake, but a slow, tectonic slide. You don't notice it until the floor beneath your feet has already moved. I told myself it was nothing. That we were just going through a season. That every couple has their lulls. But in the silence of that night, I finally admitted something to myself. I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. And worse, I was starting to wonder who exactly my wife had become. It started with a question I already knew the answer to. "Are you going out again tonight?" She stood by the mirror, putting on mascara, something she hadn't done just for me in a long time. Her hair was styled, her perfume, light citrus and sandalwood, drifted across the room like a scent memory from a better time. She didn't look at me when she answered. "Yeah. Just drinks with Marcy and Alyssa. Third time this week." Her hand paused mid-stroke. So. I'm starting to wonder if your social calendar has replaced our marriage." Now she looked at me. Really looked. There was something in her eyes, tiredness, maybe. Or worse, indifference. Don't start, Michael, she said. I've had a long day. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. That's kind of the point. Every day seems long now. For both of us. She exhaled, setting the mascara down. I'm allowed to have a life outside of you. That's not a crime. No, it's not. But when that life starts to feel like a secret, it kind of feels like treason. God, you're so dramatic, she snapped, turning back to the mirror. Why does everything have to be about betrayal with you lately? Maybe because I don't recognize the woman who comes home at midnight and showers before getting into bed. That did it. She turned, eyes flaring. You're seriously going there? I'm just trying to understand what's happening, I said, keeping my voice even. You disappear for hours, ignore my calls, and suddenly your phone's on lockdown. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me something that makes sense. Her voice rose. It's called having boundaries, Michael. Not every text or night out is a conspiracy. Maybe I don't feel like I can breathe around you anymore without being interrogated. Don't flip this on me, I warned. I've spent months feeling like a guest in my own house while you chase God knows what with people I've never met. I've asked. I've been patient. But I'm not a doormat. She laughed, short and sharp. You think patience is passive aggression in disguise. You sulk, Michael. You hover. You watch me like I'm a criminal. I watch, I repeated slowly, because something's wrong. And we both know it. For a long moment, there was silence. Her shoulders sagged, just slightly. Then her voice came, quieter. I didn't sign up to suffocate. That one hit harder than I expected. I stepped back like I'd been slapped. You mean with me? I asked, incredulous. This life? Our home? This marriage? Her lips trembled but she didn't answer. And in that silence, something between us snapped. Not loudly. Not like glass shattering. More like the subtle pop of a thread pulled too tight for too long. I shook my head. Tell me the truth, Olivia. Are you seeing someone? That silence again. Her gaze fell to the floor. Her voice, when it came, was almost a whisper. No. But it didn't sound like the truth. It sounded like a rehearsal. You sure you want that to be your answer? I asked. Yes. She said it faster this time, too fast. Then let me see your phone. Now her head snapped up. Absolutely not. I nodded. That's what I thought. She pushed past me, grabbed her clutch. You're unbelievable. And you're hiding something, I shot back. Go ahead. Run off again. But know this, whatever's going on. I'm going to find out. She turned at the door. What do you want me to say, Michael? That I miss us? That I wish we weren't drowning in routine and resentment? No, I said coldly. I want you to say the truth. Whatever that is. Because I'm done living inside this polite lie we've built. She stood frozen for a second, then walked out. The door clicked shut like a gavel falling. I stood in the hallway, staring at the empty space she left behind. Somewhere in the middle of that fight, I stopped being scared of the truth. I started needing it. Even if it burned down everything I thought we had. It was just after midnight when I heard the garage door roll shut and the soft click of heels on tile. She didn't bother to check if I was awake. I was. I listened to the way she moved, quiet, rehearsed. Like a thief returning to familiar shadows. I heard the soft buzz of her phone vibrating in her purse, and I heard her silence it without checking. That's when I knew. I waited until I heard the shower running. Then I got out of bed, crossed the hall to where she left her handbag, and pulled out her phone. It was locked, of course. New passcode. Changed a few weeks ago. I'd noticed. But what she forgot to do was log out of her old iPad. The one she used to read news in the mornings. The one still sitting on the bookshelf in our study. Covered in dust. It took me 15 seconds to find the messages. They weren't even hidden. No fake names, no burner apps. Just, there. I miss the way you looked at me tonight. You make me feel like I'm 20 again. If I didn't have to go home, I wouldn't. My throat went dry as I scrolled through weeks, months, of messages. Some flirtatious. Some explicit. Some disgustingly tender. I didn't need to know who he was. I already knew. The gym. The trainer, she said, was married. The guy who sent her playlists and protein shake recipes. The guy she said was harmless. Harmless, my ass. Photos followed. A shot of her in the mirror, posing in workout gear I never saw her wear at home. Another of her holding 2 drinks, captioned, "Guess which one's yours, babe." My hand started to tremble. I stopped reading. It wasn't the images. Or even the words. It was the familiarity. The rhythm of how she spoke to him. The way she joked. The emoji she always used with me, now on messages to him. That was the cut. I closed the iPad. Sat there in the dark. I'd seen enough. The next morning, she acted normal. She even kissed my cheek like it wasn't the same mouth she used to whisper sweet nothings to someone else. I watched her pour her coffee, noticed how steady her hands were. Mine weren't. I asked, "Sleep well?" She nodded. "Yeah. You?" I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at her and said quietly, "Who is he?" She froze. Coffee halfway to her lips. Eyes locked on mine, wide, blinking. "Excuse me." "You heard me." She tried to laugh, but it came out thin and shaky. "Michael, if this is about last night again." "It's not. It's about the guy who calls you babe. The one you send gym selfies to. The one who makes you feel 20 again." She set the mug down, harder than she meant to. Liquid sloshed over the rim. "What are you talking about?" "Don't insult me," I said, calmly. "I've read the messages. Now the silence. The real kind. The kind that confirms everything you don't want to be true." She turned away, hands gripping the countertop. I saw her shoulders rise and fall like she couldn't catch her breath. "How?" she finally whispered. "You forgot about the iPad," I said. "Old tech. Remember? The one you used to read the Times on. Turns out it remembers everything you've forgotten." She didn't cry. Didn't beg. She just stared down into the sink like it could swallow her whole. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she murmured. "I swear." "I believe you," I said. "Most people don't mean to destroy their marriage. They just do it anyway." I was lost, Michael. I didn't feel seen. "Don't," I said, sharp now. "Don't stand there and pretend this is about emotional neglect. You didn't talk to me. You hid from me. You created a whole new life behind my back and now you want to act like you tripped and fell into his bed." Her face broke, finally. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not," I replied. "You're caught." She stepped forward, but I moved away. I couldn't stand the scent of her perfume. The same one she probably wore for him. "I'll pack a bag," she said, voice breaking. I nodded. She hesitated by the stairs. "Do you hate me?" I looked at her. Really looked. And said the truest thing I could muster. "I don't even know who you are." She stood by the staircase like she was waiting for permission to move. Like the guilt had finally caught up to her and now she didn't know where to put it. "You want me to go," she said quietly. "Don't you?" I didn't answer right away. I was sitting at the kitchen table, elbows on the wood, hands clenched together. I stared at the same chair she used to sit in every morning with a cup of coffee and bedhead. The same one she sat in the night she told me we should try a new Italian place downtown. That same chair now felt stained. "Michael," she asked again, her voice soft but trembling. "Say something." I looked up. My voice was steady, but cold. "You need to leave." Her jaw tensed. "For how long?" "Indefinitely." Are you sure that's what you want?" "No," I said. "But it's what needs to happen." That answer must have hit harder than she expected. She turned, walked a few paces away, then came back, like pacing might give her time to undo the truth. "You're not even going to let me explain." "You've explained enough," I said. "In text messages. In photos. In late-night disappearances. You gave your explanation to someone else, and now you're giving me your regret. I don't need it." She folded her arms, defensive now. "It was just one time." I stood up slowly. "Don't lie." She flinched. I walked around the table, stood a foot from her. "I've seen months of messages. I know about the gym. The private sessions. The early morning classes. You think I can't put a pattern together? I didn't plan for this to happen." "You don't trip and fall into an affair," I snapped. "That's not how this works. You wanted it. You chose it." Repeatedly. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. "I was lonely, Michael. So was I. But I didn't betray you for it." Silence again. Finally, I said what I had to: "You're leaving today. Pack what you need. I'll stay out of your way while you do." She shook her head. "Where am I supposed to go?" "You have friends," I said. "Maybe the ones you go out with 3 nights a week. Or maybe," I paused, the next words heavy, cruel, but necessary, "maybe he has a guest room." That one cut. She staggered back like I'd struck her. "I can't believe you'd say that." I gave a cold smile. "I can't believe you gave me a reason to." She looked around the house like she was seeing it for the first time. Her gaze landed on the pictures on the mantel, wedding photos, vacation shots, 2 lives that once felt intertwined beyond undoing. "Is this really it?" she whispered. "It was over the moment you decided to give him what was mine." She turned away. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the creak of our bedroom door. A few minutes later, she came down with a small suitcase and a tote bag. No dramatic scene. No final plea. Just a woman who looked like she aged 10 years in a single day. At the door, she turned. "I never stopped loving you." I didn't flinch. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you started loving someone else." She nodded like she expected that. Then she left. I stood there in the silence, staring at the door after it closed. I thought I'd cry. I didn't. Instead, I walked upstairs. Stripped the sheets from our bed. Tossed her pillow in the hallway. Opened the window to air out the scent of her perfume. Then I pulled out my laptop. And started searching for lawyers. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was going to be war. And I was done being the quiet one. I thought she'd stay gone. She didn't. It started with a text the next morning. "We need to talk. Please." I didn't answer. Then came the emails, long, winding explanations, all emotion and no accountability. I wasn't myself. He meant nothing. "We can fix this." I replied once. "The only thing broken here is the lie you built. I'm not picking up the pieces." After that, the tone shifted. Fast. By day 3, she wasn't apologizing anymore. She was demanding. "You can't just kick me out of my own house. That's what she said when she showed up unannounced one evening, standing in the driveway with a storm in her eyes. I didn't let her inside. I didn't kick you out, I said through the door. You walked out. All I did was close it behind you. You think a judge is going to side with you? I'm not interested in sides. I'm interested in truth. And I've got more than enough of it. That shut her up. She left. But not for long. Over the next week, she started playing dirty. One night, she showed up past midnight, pounding on the front door like she was trying to break it down. The neighbors called. I didn't open. Another day, she left a voicemail crying, something about being unstable, threatening to tell the court I was emotionally abusive. I saved it. Because that's the thing about people like her. They think chaos is power. They think if they scream loud enough, the truth will get drowned out. But I had stopped reacting. I started recording. Every text. Every voicemail. Every surprise visit. I looped in my attorney, a woman named Diane Marks. Former prosecutor, all steel and ice. She listened to the voicemails, read the emails, and said, let her keep talking. The more she digs, the better your case gets. By week 2, Olivia filed a motion for temporary spousal support. She claims you abandoned her, Diane told me. She abandoned our marriage. I just followed suit. Diane nodded. We'll contest it. We'll also file for exclusive use of the house, and we'll subpoena her gym's access logs. She's not as clean as she thinks. I'd never been more grateful for a good lawyer. Because Olivia wasn't just spiraling, she was trying to rewrite the story. Suddenly, she was telling people I'd been distant, cold, controlling. That I'd pushed her away. What she didn't know was that I had years of messages, photos, and timestamps to paint a different picture, one where I was the man building a life, and she was busy burning it down. I stayed calm. I didn't respond to her baiting texts. I didn't argue. I didn't chase. And it drove her mad. I saw it in her face the day we ran into each other at the grocery store. She smiled like nothing had happened. Hi, stranger. I didn't return it. Let's not do this. You still look good, she said. You still lie well, I replied, walking past her. That was the last time I spoke to her in person. Back home, I checked the cameras I'd installed around the property. Just in case. Diane had warned me, expect her to get worse before she gets smart. She was right. One evening, Olivia's new attorney, some flashy guy out of town, sent a notice accusing me of harassment. Said I was tracking her movement and threatening her well-being. Diane laughed when she saw it. The same woman who's been showing up at your house after midnight? We'll counter, I said. I want this in front of a judge. Good, Diane said. Because by the time we're done, she won't just lose the house, she'll lose the narrative. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one with a plan. A case. A lawyer. Receipts. She tried to weaponize chaos. But I was coming with facts. And in court, facts win. Courtrooms aren't like what you see on TV. No dramatic music. No gasps from the crowd. Just cold benches, neutral paint, and the hum of fluorescent lights. But the tension? That's real. You feel it in your bones. When I stepped into the courtroom that morning, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Diane sat beside me, calm as ever, flipping through a thick binder with tabs and highlights. Across the aisle, Olivia looked polished, put together. But her eyes gave her away, too wide, too restless. She was scared. The judge was a woman in her 50s. Sharp eyes, no-nonsense tone. She called us to order. The case was simple on paper: divorce proceedings, dispute over property, spousal support, potential shared assets. But under the surface, it was a minefield of betrayal. Olivia's lawyer went first. He talked about emotional distance. Claimed I had abandoned the emotional needs of the marriage. That I was withholding. Cold. That she found comfort outside the marriage after years of neglect. I didn't flinch. Neither did Diane. Then it was our turn. Diane stood and said, "Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibits A through J." She handed the bailiff a thick folder. Inside were phone records, text messages, photos, gym check-ins, GPS logs, and a signed affidavit from the gym's front desk manager. It outlined private sessions, ones billed under the man Olivia swore she was just friends with. The judge read through each one silently. Olivia sat frozen, her lawyer looking like he'd just swallowed a nail. Then came the audio. A recording of Olivia's late-night voicemails. The angry one. The crying one. The threatening one. Then a follow-up message, where she tried to walk it all back. The courtroom was quiet as it played. The judge listened carefully, hands folded under her chin. When it ended, Diane simply said, "We rest, Your Honor." The judge turned to Olivia. "Do you contest the validity of any of this material?" Olivia looked like she wanted to disappear. "No," she whispered. That was the end. The judge took a few minutes to review her notes. Then she delivered the verdict. Based on the evidence provided, she said, the court finds that Mr. Russell has demonstrated an ongoing pattern of dishonesty and emotional abuse from the respondent. She turned to Olivia. Your actions were not only deceptive but manipulative. This court sees no justification for spousal support. You will vacate the home within 30 days. Any joint accounts will be split evenly, with the exception of retirement contributions predating the affair. Then she looked at me. Mr. Russell, you are awarded full control of the marital residence. The gavel dropped. Just like that, it was done. No cheers. No clapping. Just the quiet closing of folders and the shuffle of feet. I didn't look at Olivia as she walked out. I didn't need to. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining. I stood on the steps, feeling it hit my face for the first time in what felt like months. Diane put a hand on my shoulder. You did good. No, I said, voice steady. We did good. That night, I made dinner in my kitchen, the same kitchen where she once laughed, cried, kissed me, and lied to me. Only now, it was just me. A steak. A glass of red. Music playing low. And peace. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like silence. Like the noise was finally gone. And in that silence, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Not the wild, reckless kind. But the quiet kind. The kind that comes from surviving the worst and walking out on the other side, still standing. Still whole. Still me. And that? That was enough.